All right, welcome back to Bluebird Territory presented by Miller Lite. I was off all weekend for a wedding. I know you guys were kind of had some stuff on too, coming in and out. Looks like, from my perspective at least, maybe the worst weekend of Blue Jays baseball that they've had all year. There could be a series I'm forgetting, but just given the context, given how important we talked about this stretch of games seemed for the team, dropping four straight against the Rangers. I believe it's 6 losses in a row for this team. They're 39 and 45. Like, they're not hovering below 500 right now. They're like decidedly below 500. So we're just going to do like a big picture kind of conversation about, we're about halfway through the season. Why is it going the way it's going? And Ricky, I'll start with you. What first comes to mind for that question?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this team and its identity early in the season, it was the starting pitching. And obviously from Gosman to Trey coming back and Dylan Cease and guys like that. Patrick Corbin had been a good story. And then, it was bound to happen, man. And I told you this off air, like there's only so much you can go, uh, you know, going out there giving quality innings, and then when it just doesn't happen you hope the offense picks you up, and it just really hasn't clicked for this team like that. Usually it's like the pitching's on, maybe the hitting gets shut down for a little bit, but vice versa, the offense will go out there and put 10 runs, you give up 5 and you're like, all right, I'm good. And when you look at this starting staff in the month of June, it hasn't been pretty. They're dead last, I think, in ERA. They have 2 wins in the month of June. Um, Not dating back to last week because those are ugly numbers, but just this series alone, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they go down 6-0, 5-0, 6-0. That's tough. That's tough for an offense that's already struggling to say, hey, come on, can you guys give us 7, 8 runs to come back? And obviously, it's something that's not, it's doable, but this is a struggling offense. There's no way around it. There's no sugarcoating it. I mean, it's just not very good right now. And the middle of the lineup, the top of the lineup, it just isn't clicking for them. I mean, yesterday they were in the ball game and then they lose in a in a bad way. Something that you really ever see in the game of baseball. But in a nutshell, it kind of tells you how this Blue Jay season is going. The fact that a guy scores on a wild pitch from second base. Um, if you find a positive, is that Shane Bieber got into that sixth inning. He went 5 1/3. Obviously, he's still battling a little bit of command issues, but I feel like with time that comes. Again, it's only his second start since coming back from the injury list, and but if there's a silver lining in that, is that he's probably going to continue to get better. I don't think we're going to see Cy Young type of Bieber type stuff out there, but the Blue Jays would gladly take these type of outings where get you into the sixth inning, give up 2 runs, and give your team a chance to win. And I know we talk a lot about that, but that's really the starter's mentality. Um, and if it were up to them, they'd go out there and throw shutouts and win games. And the offense, go ahead, put up 2 runs, we're going to win this game. But baseball doesn't work like that. And eventually, this offense is. I know we've talked about it a lot, but they're gonna have to do something. Something's gonna have to happen. Obviously, they brought up Sean Keys, a big time prospect that's killed the minor league level. Maybe they're trying to find a spark there, but can they find everyday? Can they find him in the everyday lineup? That remains to be seen. Obviously, Okamoto has been pretty good. Their best power hitter all season long, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But this is a team that is really struggling to find its identity. I really do think that. I don't think that. I think there's so many moving parts right now, and so much stuff has happened with injuries and just everything the way it's gone, and it's just a team that looks a bit lost right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ricky touched on the starting pitching, and I think we knew that there would be some sort of regression. And when you consider how good they were at the beginning of the season and how stressful those innings they were pitching, because every game seemed to be a one-run game or a two-run game, and they almost had to be perfect. And there was times when the Blue Jays offense was non-existent, and these starters would have to go out and throw up zeros after zeros. Like they had no, wiggle room for error. And then at some point that levee is going to break. And I think in the month of June, we kind of saw that levee break. You shouldn't realistically every fifth day when you get the ball, it shouldn't feel like a playoff atmosphere every time you're pitching. And because of the struggles of the offense, that's how the pitchers have had to pitch. I can't remember the last time the Blue Jays jumped out to an early lead and a starter was able to just go like, okay, I don't have to be perfect here. A solo homer is not going to kill me here. Like, continue to pound the zone. But when you're having to just feel the pressure of every pitch when you go out there, at some point it's going to break. And, to me, we talked about the kind of quality or strength of schedule, during this homestand. And, to start this homestand, did they get to 500 or they were one game? They got to 500,
They got
right?
to it, yeah.
They got to 500, and then they had that ugly loss, and then it kind of led to, 6 straight losses. But, I've kind of been reserving this comment for a long time, and I think the timing of it is kind of perfect because they just played the Texas Rangers. But, I would say maybe like 2 weeks into the season, I started kind of having this thought, and I was just going to kind of see the way that the season played out. And obviously, injuries at the beginning of the year didn't help, but the fact that they're somewhat whole and they're somewhat healthy is I'm starting to see a little bit of shades of 2024 Texas Rangers team, a team that went to the World Series, ultimately won the World Series, but then they've kind of been a team that's underperformed, in 2024, 2025. Even right now, they're a team that's maybe one game above 500. Fortunately for them, they play in a division that is a little bit watered down right now. I think they're actually leading the AL West right now. And, during a couple of those games where they beat the Blue Jays, I think they climbed into a playoff position in the wild card. But now with Seattle struggles, they are in first place in the division. But the reason I say that is when you look at the 2023 Texas Ranger team, and they obviously had a couple of superstars. You had your Corey Seagers. You had a couple of other guys that really just did what superstars are supposed to do. But when you looked at the surrounding cast, the Evan Carters, the Leody Tavareses, Wyatt Langford came up as a young kid. Josh Young came up as a young kid. You had Jonah Heim. Like, all these guys kind of had, really, really special years. And they haven't been able to kind of repeat those type of special years right now. And I think when you think about all the moving parts of the Blue Jays team last year and all the great stories that they had and all these guys kind of elevating their game at the same time and really clicking on all cylinders, throughout the postseason and in the second half of the season, you haven't quite seen that yet. As concerning as, Vladdy's been for the entire baseball world. Obviously, Alejandro Kirk struggles a little bit since he's been back is concerning as well too. And obviously, as someone who's had thumb injuries, I know how difficult it could be to, just really hop back in mid-season. And I think in a perfect world, if the Blue Jays were more successful at the time of his return, I think they would have given him some more at bats in the minor leagues to really get his timing down. I mean, it's a really hard thing. You think about, you go the entire offseason, which pretty much the amount of time that Kirk was out, considering how deep they went into the season, was about the same time when he got back to spring training. Then you get 6-7 weeks of spring training to get your movements down, your timings down, your failures, your successes, all the things that come with baseball. And he missed that amount of time. And through his rehab process, he really only got like a week's worth of at-bats because he was so needed. They needed a spark, and he just really kind of hasn't gotten his, timing going yet. And, aside from all the struggles, obviously Nathan Lucas has kind of been the one constant that's carried it from last year. But at this point, I don't really know what they need to do to get it going. The only thing I could think about, and once again, I'm not the manager. I've never managed before. I don't know about roster construction and lineups and, obviously managing personalities. But to me, it feels like they need to try to do something different in their lineup. Their best hitter, arguably their best hitter, the guy who's going to the All-Star game, Ernie Clement, still finding himself batting like 6th or 7th. At some point, I think you need to try to stack the best hitters you have and hope that those 3-4 guys are able to score some runs for you and then kind of take the pressure off of everyone else, trying to put Ernie maybe at the top of the lineup with Nathan Lucas and then after that, it's just kind of been a crapshoot. But I think those two guys need to, sandwich each other in the lineup. They're the guys getting on base more often than anyone else. So figure out a way to try to score some runs, and as I'm talking to you, Mitch, I'm going to ask you: is it crazy to consider at this point in time, and maybe it will be a little bit more telling after what happens in these 3 games against the Mets, because obviously a very disappointing 3 games, right? 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
3.
3 games. Yeah, and not to mention they're facing their 3 best pitchers in their rotation, so it's not like the team's underperformed, but they're also getting some quality arms that they have to face too. It's not like they're getting bottom of the barrel. I know they're getting Freddie Peralta. I know they're getting McClan or McClan, Nolan
Yeah.
McClan, and I can't remember the last guy they're getting, but I think they're getting
Manaya,
some of their.
They're good.
Oh,
Manaya
they're getting
today.
Manaya. Yeah, Manaya, McClain, and then Freddie Peralta. And once again, they struggle against left-handed pitching. So, Manaya, obviously his ability to throw from the left side is already a difficult task for the Blue Jays lineup to handle. But we'll see how these 3 games go. But like I was saying, Mitch, like as I'm talking, like, is it crazy to consider the alternative of like, do they need to start considering the other alternative, or is it like the division is not the division, but the American League is still so kind of watered down a little bit that do they go out and trade pieces and try to like, maybe not like cash it in and say, hey, we're not going to do this, but maybe you trade some expiring contracts, guys that are going to be pending free agents, and you try to figure out a way to, get some value in them, but also try to like bring back some value or bring some guys up from the minor leagues that can kind of fill those positions.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I'll think about my answer and give it to you on the other side of this quick break.
Baseball season is back, and it's a great time to drink a cold Miller Lite.
It's the perfect time to watch a game with some friends and drink a cold Miller Lite.
It's got that great taste, and it's just 90 calories in a 355 milliliter can. For all my fellow Canadians, Miller Lite is the official beer of baseball in Canada, so why not go grab some Miller Lites today? Because your game time is Miller time. Must be legal drinking age. Celebrate responsibly. Yeah, I think the natural question, I think you guys kind of nailed what's gone wrong, why they are where they are. The natural question is like, where do they go from here? And I view that question in 2 ways. It's like, how, if they were to get back to being competitive, what is the clearest or the easiest path to doing that? And the second one is, if not, what happens on August 1st? What happens in the second half of this season? Just to answer that second question first, from my opinion, I think they'd have to like not make up any room to be sellers. Like, I think they'd have to be minimum 6 games below, given the current state of the American League around deadline day. And my understanding of how this front office would work is, if they're hovering around this, like, they're not going to decide buyer or seller until like July 29th for an April or an August 2nd deadline. What they would do is they would lay the groundwork for the selling plan. They would lay the groundwork for the buying plan. Now, that means you're not necessarily dedicating 100% of resources to either, which probably means you're not being like a 2025 Minnesota Twins and trading like 9 guys, just because you've kind of hedged both directions. And then they would just decide, okay, what is the direction we're taking 2 or 3 days before the deadline, and then you go all in. You give, I think they probably owe this core and this group of players, given what they did last year, as much runway as you could possibly give them. And if they're not in it, if they're 7-8 games below, if their playoff odds are 7% at the end of July, like this, I don't think this is going to be like an Ohtani Angels situation where they just decide to buy as like a Hail Mary to make this group work. They have enough guys under contract. They have enough expiring arms in what should be a pretty strong seller's market that would just make a lot of sense to sell. So if they don't get back into it, I think we could definitely see that. Gausman would be a name that would come to mind. Varsho would be a name that come to mind. Probably a lot of bullpen arms that aren't named Louis Varland could be in that mix. Bieber could be another guy in that mix. Those would people, I'm probably forgetting someone, but those are the guys that come to mind. But my question for you guys, and I think is maybe, if you want to hit on that as well, go for it. But also, what do you think is like the easiest path for this team to not being a seller? Like, we've talked about Vlad a lot. We could talk, like, maybe the pitching just becomes dominant again. But I think one of the reasons it's so frustrating is because there is no obvious like, hey, if this starts to happen, this team will be fine.
Well, I mean, it really, it's like beating a dead horse here, but Vladdy can't be a 600 OPS guy. He's got to be a minimum 800 OPS guy. And man, he's kind of come out publicly and talked about feeling the pressure of the world, feeling like he needs to carry this team, especially through the injuries. And during that time, I didn't think it was completely necessary. I thought he was, he wasn't hitting for a ton of power, but he was getting his hits, he was driving in runs. There was a cast of characters around them. The Ernie Clements, the Okamotos was, hitting the long ball, driving in runs too. Like the pressure he was feeling then wasn't, justified or real at that point. He was kind of manufacturing that in his head. The pressure now is real. Like the only way the Blue Jays get back into this is if he turns into playoff Vladdy for the next month and a half and just can put this team on his back. Like every time the Blue Jays need a big hit, he comes up with it. His hits start turning into extra base hits. His extra base hits start turning into home runs. Like he needs to go on a month tear of July through the All-Star break, after the All-Star break. Like we're talking 400, 10 homers, driving in 25 runs in the month to get this team going, to really take the pressure off of everyone else and to see kind of the light at the end of the tunnel that, okay, if he gets going, everyone else can kind of just do their part, and George probably needs to get it going a little bit too. I don't think George's expectation of being the guy he was last year is probably realistic considering the 2 seasons he had prior, but I think he needs to be kind of a guy who carries his weight, comes up with big hits, and obviously he's kind of like a Kike Hernandez in the fact that you keep him going because when the postseason turns around, he's a different beast. Like he just has an ability to turn it on in the postseason, but you obviously got to get there for him to happen. And Alejandro Kirk's got to kind of figure out a way to really kind of just get his timing going, his confidence going, and then kind of just slowly start to, transform back into the hitter that we all know he can be.
Yeah, for me, Mitch, and I watched the Friday game, and I saw Vladdy kind of hold his side on a throw to deep, like right field. I think he went and caught a ball. And I'm sitting here wondering, I was thinking about it all week, and I was like, I wonder if this guy's fully healthy. And I know there's been, some back issues there where they've sat him down, and he's usually not a guy that takes very many days off. And I think they take, he, especially him, he takes a lot of pride in that. And it's something that's important to him to be out there and playing for his team and representing the Toronto Blue Jays. I know that's not what people want to hear right now and stuff like that because they think, he's not representing the Blue Jays good. He's not hitting home runs. He's not doing this. He's having too much fun. He's smiling. He's this, he's that. But at the end of the day, this is a guy that's probably hurt, honestly, not hurt to the point where he can't play, but he's probably working through some kinks there where it's like, man, my side hurts but I can go out there and give you whatever I got. And a lot of the times, somebody like John Schneider can be like, I'll take your 80% over anybody else's 100%, And I think early in the season, as KP said, I mean, I think we watched this guy hit 330, 340, and he was on absolute fire. And I think everyone was questioning, oh, well, he's not hitting for power. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. I'm sure he made some adjustments to his swing trying to hit for power, and that probably just went down the shitter, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. And I think everyone would take April Vladdy right now and the way he was hitting the ball, driving in runs when he needed to, getting on base, going 3 for 4, 4 for 4, whatever it was. But again, sometimes I sit here and wonder if he's really fully healthy. And, at the end of the day, he's just going out there giving you everything he's got. And yeah, I mean, it really does. For them to be successful, yes, we can harp on the offense, but it's a collective group. I think last year when we saw them make that run, it was the pitching, it was the hitting, it was a hero every single night, a different guy every single night. They haven't had that magic this season where a different guy has stepped up in big time situations, and it just hasn't really clicked for them there. Where there's runners on second and third, it's like strikeout or pop out. And last year it seemed like there was Ernie Clement was a boom base hit, 2 runs scored, or Nathan Lucas, Addison Barger, like those guys. It just seemed like every single night there was a different hero that would save the game. And again, it's not easy to replicate in the game of baseball. It really isn't, to be able to expect that every single year. It hasn't happened, and that's just the way baseball is. Like I told my little league team yesterday, we lost on a walk, and I told them baseball's cruel. It sucks sometimes. The game of baseball sucks, and uh, uh, but you live and you learn from these moments, and I think reality has set in for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think it's you look in the mirror and you're like, oh man, how can I help this team today? And I'm sure there's a lot of questions around this team. A lot of guys, sitting there wondering what the heck's going on. And I've been part of clubhouses where you come so close to winning some games and you going on a run, and then next thing you know, you're sitting around the clubhouse. And I'm sure KP has been in the same situation where you just dead silent and everyone's just looking around like, what the heck just happened? And I feel like that's what the Toronto Blue Jays are going through right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe an uncomfortable conversation needs to be had too, and obviously John Snyder and Vladdy have a very good, personal relationship, working relationship. And then, as you were talking about that, Ricky, I was kind of looking up the schedule to see how many games they have left before the All-Star break. And maybe it's not right now. Maybe it's after this Met series. Maybe it's just kind of see how it goes for these next couple of days. But there's certain guys that even when they're in the lineup and you see their name, it changes the way that other teams view them. But the fact that Vladdy is not hitting the way that he knows he can hit and the world expects him to hit, and the fact that it hasn't really gotten any better. Ricky talking about potential injury, he's missed some time because of his back. He had the side thing you were talking about going on that catch. The fact that they brought Keys up, who plays that same position, he can play first base, third base. At some point, maybe a conversation goes, look, I know things are going well, and you're feeling the weight of the world in order to get this thing going right. We're not completely out of this, but things aren't going well, and it's probably not ideal time to sit you down for 10 days. But maybe at a certain point, including that All-Star break of those 4 days that you get during the All-Star break, maybe there's a time they say, hey, Vladdy, let's shut this thing down for a week before the All-Star break. Let's give you the proper time to heal your body, take 4 or 5 days off, get your back feeling right, your brain getting right. And then you can kind of step out of that environment, work on your swing, fix some things. It's hard if you are dealing with some sort of ailment. It's like, my swing doesn't feel good. I can't swing that much because it hurts my body, but I can't get it right unless I swing. I can't fix my mechanics unless I'm in the cage. So, maybe that's something they have to consider doing for the kind of the greater good of the season, and maybe just try to say, hey, post All-Star break, we got 25 games or whatever it might be, 15 games, 10 games, 12. I don't even know what it is before the trade deadline. And maybe we just try to push all our chips in, because, him playing at whatever percentage he is, if he's not at 100%, isn't really getting it done. And I know having him in the lineup is better than not having him in the lineup, but bringing a guy up who's obviously earned the right to be there, who's hit 20 home runs in the minor leagues pre All-Star break, Vladdy's not getting it done right now. So at some point, is it beneficial to say, hey, let's take some time off. Let's get you healthy. Let's go on this run in the second half of the season. We got bodies that could kind of fill in. Let's get you right, and we know we can get you right.
Yeah, and as KP said, I mean, the American League is watered down right now, and you're truly not out of it. They're truly not out of the playoff race. They're 2.5 games back out of the wild card, which is nothing. And again, we keep saying this, a 5-game winning streak, and they're right back in it. It's just the way that the American League is right now. And I know people probably don't want to hear. They probably like, oh, well, this is not a playoff team. Well, you know what? The whole thing about this team and just baseball is get in somehow, and then we'll figure out October when we get there. And this team does have the ability to do that if they do everything, works in their favor. But I don't think we can keep saying, "Oh yeah, this a soft part of the schedule is coming up for them," because I don't think there's anything soft about
Yeah.
any
It's not
teams
helping,
right now.
clearly. Yeah.
No, it really isn't. And I know they have a big West Coast swing too coming up. They go to Seattle, which is Toronto Blue Jays' second home. I know Seattle Mariners fans hate hearing that, but it's the truth. And then they go to San Francisco and then come to San Diego. So I don't know. Maybe that long plane ride, helps a little bit. I know I always enjoyed them because it was like coming home for me. But yeah, it'll be interesting what they do from here till the deadline and see where they're at. I mean, at the end of the day, I think you want to finish on a high going into the All-Star break, and then take a huge long mental break, physical break, everything you can for those not playing that game. Um, and just kind of get ready for that second half.
Yeah, I think it is continues to be a weird conversation to have for that exact reason, Ricky, because yeah, they're not out of it at all. They could be right back in the playoffs, but we can all agree this is not a very good baseball team right now. They've not played very good.
Not
So
right now, no.
some years being two
No,
and a
and
half out, that's a great team. It's
yeah,
not
I
the
also
reality right
think
now.
I also think that's the challenge with where the front office is at too, is the fact that they're not out of it, but obviously you want to get to the postseason because anything can happen in the postseason. And if you roll out Gosman, Cease, you Savage in a 3-game series, like those three can win you the series, right? But you're looking at the kind of the bigger picture of, okay, if we get to the postseason, are we good enough to actually win this thing? And right now the answer is no. Like, the fact that it's watered down and the fact that you have a chance to get there is a great thing, which potentially leads to the idea of going out and still trying to add pieces to make your team better. But right now that's how I would feel as a front office. And maybe they have a little bit more optimism than me, and like, okay, we can't be this bad forever. Like, Vladdy's not going to go this bad. Kirk's not going to go this bad. Like, the offense collectively is not going to go this bad. But the way it sits right now, despite where they were in the standings, they're just not very good. Like, it's not even an enjoyable watch right now. And I think last year, comparing it to last year, which we hate doing, but they were fun to watch because they had fight, they had grit, they had like charisma and character, and like there was like this quiet confidence to that team, the swagger to that team. This team just is like a team that is trying to openly be like confident because of like the name that they're wearing on the front of their jersey, because of everything that happened last year. But when you look through that, you're like, this is a very insecure, confused, not confident, not collective, a tight knit group like it seemed to be last year. There's just a lot of individual struggles across the board that's kind of fracturing the entire unit, from kind of really getting back on track.
Yep, agreed. Okay, I'm gonna end it on a positive. I'll come back with one last quick positive question because, hey, that was a reality check that was needed. I'm not saying that was any of us being negative. I think we were all just being honest, and I don't think many Blue Jays fans would disagree unless you're. I would love to meet the Blue Jays fans that are still like exceptionally optimistic right now, because I would love to have you around my life. But we'll be back with one final positive question on the other side of this quick break.
People, dehydration sucks. Quince electrolyte stick packs to the rescue. I order them. I use them all of the time.
Listen,
See
as
this?
somebody who may or may not have had some adult beverages in their life, the next day, you know what flavor I like? Watermelon. And I don't like watermelon, I'll go raspberry, and it helps me to get my citrus salt in. But if I do, it helps me to get back to normal, feeling good, and ready to go the next day.
Yep, tough workout or dry mouth in the morning, whatever it is, this is going to help you out. Quince always has the best deals for you. You can go on their website and see a number of products. We're talking about not only a product that tastes great, but has zero sugar options that are also stevia free. Give your body what it really needs to stay hydrated. Go to quince.com/Val for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/FOUL for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Val. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, fellas, this last question is going to be brought to you by Bet365. And you mentioned it, Ricky. Ernie Clement led all of American League voters in All-Star voting. It's like, I think, over 3 million voters. That's the population of like a small country essentially voted for Ernie Clement. I got the news when I got off my flight heading to Calgary this weekend. Ricky, just what do you think? It's a pretty cool story that this guy is now an All-Star.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I mean, this is the guy that was DFA'd, and probably I'm sure at times pondered if he'd ever get back to the big leagues and stuff like that. So the fact that that he got his shot with the Toronto Blue Jays and he hasn't looked back one bit. I mean, it reminds me a little bit, obviously not to the extent, but like, same thing with Edwin Encarnacion, a guy that, everyone wrote off and, he got sent off to the Oakland A's. They picked him up, they DFA'd him, and then the Toronto Blue Jays got him back and remade his whole career as a first baseman and became a Blue Jays legend, man. And a little bit of a similar story. And the fact that Ernie continues to be the heartbeat of this team, and just listening to him in his interviews, very charismatic, very fun interviewee. I'm sure Mitch. I'm sure when you get a chance to talk to him, it's always fun, and you're always wondering what's going to come out of his mouth because he is really charismatic, and the fact that he came in second in all of baseball, right? He even said it, second to the Dodgers
Shohei,
once
yeah.
again. Shohei. So, a guy I feel like that you need those type of guys in the clubhouse, and it just seems like he's the one that probably keeps it loose, and hasn't. If you asked him, hey, are the Toronto Blue Jays a playoff team right now? He'd probably without hesitation say yes. We got what it takes. But very well deserved nod. The fact that he gets to start an All-Star game. I was part of one, and it's honestly one of the most incredible experiences of my life. The fact that when you walk in to that clubhouse and you see so many future Hall of Famers and your teammates with them for a whole weekend, it's awesome, man. And I hope he enjoys it. He deserves it. What a turnaround for him from being pretty much a playoff hero. Big part of that identity of the 2025 team of the Toronto Blue Jays, going and playing for Team USA. I'm sure if you would have asked him, he would have said, no chance I'd ever play for the WBC Team USA team. And he was part of that team. And Mark DeRosa had a lot of great things to say about him. And then he gets off to a great start this season and earns a starting second baseman for the American League team. I mean, it's so awesome. Good for him. Really happy and very well deserved.
Yeah, you know how I feel about the fan voting, but I do think they got this one right. Should he have been maybe the automatic selection out of all the players in the American League? I don't know, maybe not, but is he deserving to be the starting second baseman for the American League team? Absolutely. So I love the fact that he's going to represent the Toronto Blue Jays and be the starting second baseman. Well deserved honor, considering everything he's had to overcome in his career. The multiple DFAs, the uncertainty, even coming to Toronto and not really being an everyday player, kind of being this utility player, and really just has played himself into an everyday role, and took that everyday role and turned that into an all-star nod. And like Ricky said, a chance to represent his country on the WBC team. Considering the run he went on last year, I mean, he's in the record books of most hits in a postseason ever, right? It's just kind of been, I mean, what a crazy 6 months for this guy to go from even on his own team of kind of a utility guy to hey, we have to play this guy in the postseason, to stamping his name in the record books, to going to play for his country, winning a gold, well, not winning a gold medal, but getting a chance to medal in the WBC. And then the second most votes in all of baseball behind Shohei Ohtani, getting a chance to represent the Toronto Blue Jays in the All-Star game. Well-deserved honor. I know he's going to enjoy it. I can't imagine what that feeling's like, knowing you're going to your first All-Star game, considering everything he's gone through. So it's a really cool story. It's very inspiring, hopefully, for a lot of other minor leaguers out there, high school players, college players, guys, even on his own team that are trying to find their way in this game. I think if you just continue to, and I think that's the greatest thing about Ernie is he's not arrogant, but he's very confident in his ability. And I think he's always been confident in his ability. And I think when you read his Players Tribune thing, I think,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing that stood out, is he always had this belief in himself. And at the end of the day in this game, there's going to be people above your pay grade that may not believe in you, that send you out, trade you, DFA you and stuff. But it really has to come from this internal belief that you belong and that you can accomplish great things in this game. And I think his belief in those things are finally coming to fruition. And it's really cool to watch and witness.
Yeah, I think Ernie often walks in and out of the clubhouse wearing a hat that says "Never a Doubt," and I think that kind of sums up Ernie quite well because he's not saying it. He's not going out being like, "Oh yeah, I always knew it was gonna be sick." He just wears it on his hat. It's kind of a silent message, like I never had a doubt I would be here, and hey, he's proved himself right. Certainly, congrats to Ernie. That has been our bright side segment for this episode of Bluebird Territory.
And also you got to give credit to you got to congratulations to John and the staff too. I mean, they're going to have a chance to represent the Toronto Blue Jays, and I know a lot of people are confused by it, but trust me, people, the managers who are in the World Series are the ones that manage the All-Star game, regardless of how the season's going, and they deserve it, man. I mean, there's a lot of hard work that gets put into the behind-the-scenes work from John Schneider, Pete Walker, and everyone else that's joining him for this game. It's an awesome honor, and honestly, like I said, you never really get to be around so many great players like you do during the All-Star game, and the fact that they get to do that, he gets to manage. I mean, it's been a long road for him too, from the beginning as a player, a guy that never got his shot in the big leagues, to now managing in the big leagues. Really awesome for John, and very well deserved for him and the whole staff. I know they've worked super hard, so it'll be fun to have the Toronto Blue Jays represented at this All-Star game, not just by Ernie Clement, but by the whole staff that he's bringing up there.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for John to have Cam Schlittler go and throw 140 pitches in the All-Star game for the American League. We'll
I've always wondered that. I've always wondered how it is when there's a little bit of rift between players. I mean, last year we saw Cal Raleigh and Schneider go at it. Obviously, Cal's not going to be in the All-Star game this season, but I always wonder when there's a little bit of rift how it gets handled during those times at the All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm sure the vacation brain kind of lets all that go by the wayside, but that would be interesting to see. We'll see how he manages the game. But this has been our Bet365 segment. Bet365, download the app and see what early payout's all about. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has concerns about gambling, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Terms and conditions apply. Alrighty, fellas, that's kind of all I got. Any last words, or shall we wrap up and see if they can win a game this week?
Win a game, not a series, just win a game.
Yeah,
we've
lowered our expectations a little bit. One game at a time at this point. All right, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you later this week.
If you made it this far, you'll love this next video. Check it out right here. And make sure you've subscribed to Bluebird Territory for more Jays coverage like this multiple times a week.